Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today we are looking at the Ostscout, however we properly pronounce it. Ostscout, I think, is how it's really said. This was designed as a pure recon battle mech by the Osterman Industries. At the end, it was built entirely around gathering data and getting out of trouble, tasks for which it was exceptional. The Ostscout was quick enough to escape most traps, and very few other designs can match it in terms of speed and maneuverability. However, its ability to run and leap out of danger came at the expense of offensive capability. And in fact, were it not for the aggressively lobbying on part of its test pilots, the final production models would have been completely weaponless. As it is, the Elf Scout would be hard pressed to win a fight against all but the lightest mechs. But the mech excels at operating deep behind enemy lines, gathering as much information as possible about the terrain and the disposition of enemy forces. Starting in 2600, Oustmen built and sold the Oust Scout to fulfill many armies' needs for a swift reconnaissance mech, but eventually found that demand was outstripping their production ability. Rather than surface or rather than sacrifice, their popular Ostrich line of urban combat mechs, the company licensed Kong Interstellar to start building the mech in 2700. The arrangement similar to that struck regarding the Ostil. Kong would continue to build Scouts for the next 100 years until the destruction of the factory on um, Connaught at the onset of the Succession Wars. Deprived of their possibility of replacement, many commanders began to hoard their Scouts like valuable treasures, parsing them out only for special missions, and most Scout pilots would not even attempt to engage enemy mechs. As the advanced sensor system became extremely rare and nearly impossible to replace, the unwillingness to put the mech in danger meant many survived the succession wars in practically mint condition, although many which suffered damage to their advanced sensors were forced to replace them with inferior, albeit more robust systems. Besides the great houses, Comstar also utilizes Auscout, and in the aftermath of the clan invasion and Comstar schism, began developing a new Auscout variant of or for their own com guards. The new model would maintain the same maneuverability and intelligence gathering capabilities of the original while improving its offensive and defensive capabilities. Debuting with success in 3064, within the next 3 years, nearly half of all Com Guard Scouts had been upgraded to the new variant. However, it was soon discovered that both the Lyran Alliance and Word of Blake were fielding their own updated Scouts identical to Comstars. The intelligence leak would be confirmed and tracked back to Dan Kresselring, former presenter of the 66th Division, who pressed on information about the program to both the Larens and Blakists. Used by both sides of the Blakist jihad, the newborn Republic of the Severe would maintain production of the J11 model, or 11J model, Scout after the fall of Terra, both for its own reliability or reliably limited needs, as well as export sales to the Federated Sons and Lyran Commonwealth. If I can only read here today, I'm just having a rough time. Still, produced during the Dark Age era, aside from Krupp's plants, combat forced Phoenix models, both Kong Interstellar and Robinson Standard Battle Works introduced variants that lean more heavily towards the original look and recon aspects of the vulnerable 7J model. Weapons and equipment here. The L-Scout carries a single Tronal 2 medium laser mounted in the center torso. This weapon, while not extremely powerful, is enough to dissuade most light scout as assets from attempting to pursue. The 10 heat sinks and the mech carries is more than enough to handle the heat output of this single laser. Indeed, the L Scout can jump 210 meters and fire the laser at the same time without overheating at all. While it is protected by 4.5 tons of armor, the real protection of the mech is the speed and maneuverability. With a massive 16-ton fusion engine, more commonly seen in mechs, twice its size propels the L Scout to a cruising speed of 86.4 kilometers an hour. 8 jump jets built into the left and right torso give it a maximum jumping speed distance of 240 meters, rivaling that of the Spider. The true centerpiece of the design is the advanced sensor system, including the TRSS point 2L3 targeting tracking system and powerful narrowband Barrett 4000 comm system. The sensor arrays themselves are mounted outside the main chassis due to their delicate nature, with the L-Scout using its arms to aim them. Everything from hydrological, geological data can be recorded. So much data, in fact, that the mech's computer cannot process it fast enough. This forces the L Scout to move slowly when traveling through an area of interest, waving its arms seemingly randomly, which makes it one of the few times the mech is vulnerable to the enemy. However, as long as the enemy's first salvo doesn't cripple it, the L Scout will likely escape from the ambush. All right, so getting on down here for all the different variants that we have, and we do have a few, not as many as what we've seen with some of the other mechs, but we have the 7JB introduced at the same time as the original model and used by the SLDF Royal Guards. The 7JB is the only variant of the L Scout built prior to the clan invasion. This variant uses endosteel to free up enough mass to add a Beagle active probe. Then we have the 7K. This variant was introduced in 3050 and replaces the medium laser with the Garrett Mole Tag laser designator, sacrificing its limited offensive capability to allow it to designate targets for an Arrow 4 artillery missiles. Otherwise, the 7K L Scout is identical to the 7J model, and while utterly defenseless, is still swift enough to escape most danger. Then we have the 8G. The L Scout, highly prized by the Draconis Combine, the 8G model is manufactured by the captured Robinson plant, sharing many of the parts with RSBW's Ostil line, using the classic J7 model as a base. The 8J uses the GM 280 rated XL engine to free up weight to upgrade its electronic suite to modern standards, being fitted with an Eagle or Angel Active or Angel ECM suite. I wanted to say Active Probe, and Bloodhound Active Probe. Offensively, the Tronal 2 is swapped for a Martel X or 10 medium X pulse laser, supported by the double heat sinks and 6 tons of Star Guard ferrofibers armor. Now we have the 9CS. The 9CS model is a complete upgrade to the vulnerable L-Scout developed by Comstar and introduced in 3064. The mech retains the jump jets, but has otherwise been rebuilt from the ground up. With the Krupp 255 Endosteel internal structure, and a 280 Vox XL engine to free up weight for advanced electronics and weaponry. The arm mounted sensor arrays are shifted to fixed points around the torso and include new side scanning Doppler. The triangulation sensors to maintain the same data gathering capability. Additionally, a new high speed computer capable of handling terabytes of data in seconds meant the Oscout no longer had to slow down when using its sensors. The targeting slash tracking system also was replaced with the TRSS Eagle Eye system, mated with the Beagle Active Probe, Guardian ECM suite, and head mounted tag. While the comm systems were upgraded to the Exter Long Scan 300 with C3I computer for better fire mission coordination. For self defense, the 9CS model carries two diverse optics ER medium lasers in either arm and a diverse optics ER small laser in the center torso. Finally, 6 tons of Krupp 155 ferrofibrous armor provides superior protection from weapons fire. Now we have the 9S. The 9S model is also a rebuilt of the Scout. This model also uses the Endosteel chassis as well as the ferrofibrous armor for protection. The mech carries two ER medium lasers and two APODs to discourage infantry attacks. The electronics carried by this mech include the Beagle Active Probe, Guardian ECM suite, and a TAG laser designator. We have the 10CS, produced by Krupp Armament Works and Odin Manufacturing. The 10CS Oscout saves weight through the use of XL engines um, and an XL gyro, which gives up durability for more combat payload weight, allowing the mech to jump up to 300 meters though through the use of 10 Rollings 45i improved jump jets. The 10CS also carries an improved C3 computer to communicate with similarly equipped units and carries two diverse optics ER medium lasers for defense combat capabilities. All right, sneaking down to the 11J. This variant is also produced by Krupp Armament Works. The top speed of the mech is close to 150 kilometers an hour, thanks to the GM 315XL engine, and uses 8 standard jump jets, if I can speak. For enhanced mobility, ferrofibrous armor is utilized to offer for enhanced protection. Uh, but all the advanced electronic equipment is removed except for the tag unit. The weapons and electronics are replaced by a pair of, I'm going to murder this one, but Muscovia light PPCs. That'll be a surprise for anyone coming around the corner. Okay, then we have the 12R. Spawned from an alliance between Kong and Clan Seafox, the 12R variant is outfitted with stealth armor technology and clan weaponry. Clad with 4.5 tons of Star Shield Ultra Tech plating linked to the Guardian ECM suite, the 12R is built around the Vox 280 light fusion engine and a fragile endo composite frame, allowing it to carry a single clan grade Series 7K ER large laser to strike at foes at longer range. Okay, so the design quirks that we have listed here are improved communications, improved sensors, narrow and or low profile, and it is rugged. Let's see. There is a Oscout 2C Clan Jade Falcon began a 2C style redesign for the Oscout in 3063. The design proved unsatisfactory, however, and was not put into full production. All right, getting down to the pictures that we have here, and I have to make a note here. This is not the Oscout in actual reality. Much like my own technical readout, which is right behind me, this is the Ostul or Ostal. However, we pronounce that correctly, and I know I'm murdering it because that's what's actually in my book. But the Ostal, um, which is a 60-ton mech, and has a shared design frame, but it is almost twice the weight there. So I do want to point that out. Although there are a lot of design familiarities with the two of them, the picture that's actually there is from the 60-ton Ostal. And the only reason why I know that is when I'm going through the stats to try and do our D6 stats, I noticed that and was like, well, that's not the right one. So looking at these, I think that said this is what the 7J or something like that. Um, I don't see it down here now. All right, from the technical readout, SW Oscout. Now this has got regular arms on here, but it does have pads on the side, as well as the antennas here for trying to get all that information. Which does make a little bit more sense, seeing that we only have the medium laser in the middle. Or center torso, I should say. And this one is actually done by Anthony Scroggins. I think I'm pronouncing it correctly. If I'm not, and you point this out to, and again, here we have the Oscout, but I don't know if this is actually meant to be the Oscout or the Ostul. So keep that in mind. It could very well be one or the other. They both might look almost identical. It's just the bulkiness of the weight. So I'm just throwing that out there. And this is by um, Dana Knutson, Knutson. I don't think it's Knutson. I think it's Knutson. All right. And then we get over to the L Scout here. This is the 9CS, which again has that same kind of sniffer electronics on the arms without having hands on there. And this one is by Chris Lewis, Project Phoenix. Let's see. We also have the 9S from Project Phoenix, which looks almost identical, and that's Chris Lewis again. Getting down towards the end of these, now we have a new variant of this, and this is from Matt Plog, and this is the 11J. Let's see, we have Rick Harris has done this one, and apparently either that's a sensor lighting up the night, or he was under the impression that that's a laser because it looks like it would be very much so as a laser cannon there. And last but not least, we do have a newer version of the Oscout as a Inner Sphere Recon Lance. And this is this is the photo is by the Sun. All kind of nice information here. Now, let's get on over to our D6 stats and go from there and see what we have here today. All right, so looking at the Elf Scout, being at Walker scale, keep everything roughly about the right scale here. Has a crew of 1, tonnage of 35. Again, we don't have any passengers. Keeping the cargo capacity here at a very light cargo capacity, so we still have it at 25 kilograms. The cost of this is 3,416,760 C-bills. So if you have that jingling around in your pocket, you could pick up one of these. I don't know what the taxes go for it, but you get the point here. All right. Altitude range, of course, this is a battle mech, so it's going to be at ground range. Maneuverability is still sitting at a 3D plus 3, much the same as what our Jenner was from the previous week. Now, our movement speed is actually up a little bit, so this is a little bit faster than the Jenner. We are moving at 29 or 129.6 kilometers an hour. Now, that's the run speed, which is what I've been going off of, seeing that we're doing this as a D6. Okay. Our jump has a maximum range of 240 meters. The body strength being a 3D plus 1 for the tonnage scale, and it has 72 armor points. And unfortunately, we only have the one medium laser, which I forgot to change here, so I have to do this real quick. Center torso, or front, either way. Um, Walker scale. Fire control is always going to be at 2D, and it's at 4D for the damage. I had to kind of think about this because the Jenner that we were doing had 4 medium lasers. So obviously, this has only got the one. So we're taking the 3 medium lasers. So instead of being a 7D, it takes us down to a 4D. And we don't have anything else on this. So, when I poured it all over, I've got the vehicle stats from the one before. And then I just have to go and plug everything in to make it our current vehicle for the day. Um, for a good recon mech, and it's got a great write up for this. Now, it's not one that I've normally used because usually I kind of gravitate towards a couple ones like the Locust, the Jenner, maybe a Panther. I like to have a little extra speed if I can. Um, so it depends on if I'm running it as just a single mech or if I'm running it as a Lance. I might have a couple faster mechs and a couple slower ones. And if I'm seeing like a light lance, a light scout lance, or something like that, I might put in like a panther, a couple locusts because they have that speed. But unfortunately, we also lose the jump jet availability. But usually on the maps when I'm doing this at home, putting it out on the kitchen table or my pool table or what have us, um, running around everything usually is not a huge issue. Unlike when we're doing this in, say, like the Battletech video game, where we get a lot more hills and everything else, you really start to see some of the issues without having jump jets. I always like having the jump jets on the mechs when I'm doing a video game because you start running into cliffs and hills and it really starts bogging you down. So when I run into that stuff, it's kind of nice having the jump jets. But for the tabletop, because most of our maps are pretty open, it's not as much of a hindrance to not have them. So there is a difference in how you play depending on, am I doing the video game or am I doing a tabletop version of it. So having all these different variants here, it makes all the sense depending on what kind of terrain you're running. How big of an a unit are you running and all that as well. So here we are. All right. Well, with that being said, thank you so very much for joining me today. It's always wonderful having you here. I hope you're doing well, and I will see you in the next video.